Well, we got our next portion. We're going to have to meet you over on the couch.
Yeah, we're going to go over to the couch and talk a little bit about tonight's spotlight dude. And that's our buddy, Steve Cropper. All right, we'll see you over at the couch.
We are friends with them, too. Call him Steve.
Couch here. So this is a new thing we're trying out, where we're gonna do a couple tunes, you know, all on a certain songwriter or artist or something, and kind of like, you know, someone that we're fans of, and then we will, you know, kind of play a couple records and talk a little bit about history.
Yeah.
And some fun stuff. And then we're gonna get back up again in a little bit and play a couple more songs for you.
Well, what really gave me the idea, really, to do this was not only did I think that everyone would get sick of hearing us play the same songs over, but I was just like, we just did that cover of Midnight Hour.
Right, a few months ago, yeah, Midnight Hour, we did a cover that came out, so check it out on Spotify.
This guy, Steve Cropper, he wrote that song, and I'm like digging around, and it turns out that guy wrote a lot of freaking
songs that
and
you
so
know,
like
yeah.
you might not know that, you know, and so it's just like wanted to kind of shed some light on like how influential he really was to this whole, you know, thing.
Rock and roll,
Like,
yeah. I mean, the early days of rock and roll.
Yeah, so it's
Why don't you pick out a tune for us?
Well,
Well, before we
gotta
really
start out
dive
with
in.
some Booker T and the MGs here, because that was, you know, the
Prime
really
example. So, Steve Cropper, he, as a young kid at like the age of 9, he moved to Memphis, which we all know is like one of the
Tennessee.
Huge in Tennessee. Memphis being
Very
one of like
good.
the huge,
Being
you know,
our historian.
American music hubs. And, you know, he got a guitar, I think like a mail order guitar or something. And like surrounded by cool, like Memphis is known for blues and like, you know, country and stuff like that, mostly blues and soul music. But he was into, you know, the guys that were around when he was a kid. It was like, you know, like Chet Atkins and Jimmy Reed and like Chuck Berry. So like early like blues and country, rock and roll stuff. And so like out of high school, he started a band that they called the Marquis, which was actually after this recording studio, a very famous recording studio, well, it became to be in Memphis called Stax. At the time, it wasn't called Stax yet, but they had a marquee out front because it was actually an old movie theater that was converted into a recording studio. So it sounds like really cool. Like in the front foyer where they had the concessions and stuff, it was like a little record store, you know, for all of Stax artists and stuff like that. And then the actual recording studio was where, you know, you would watch the movie. So it was like this big open room with slanted floors. And they say that, you know, that huge open sound with the slanted floors, like really, like you could, it affected the recordings. And like some people say, like if you put on a Stax record, you can like, some people can immediately pick it out and be like, oh, that was recorded at Stax.
Yeah, it's like, you know, how old? He's 16 years old when he's in the Marquis, like.
Yeah, so it was like, he's in the Marquis and he gets like one hit that was actually put out by Stax.
Right, yeah.
And this was 1961, called Last Night.
Yeah.
And it's like,
It's him and the Strokes.
yeah, different tune.
Yeah.
But so it's like kind of, it's like similar, it's like instrumental music, you know, similar to like Booker T and the MGs, which everyone has heard of Green Onions.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, I got a copy of that. Oh!
First party foul! Now we're getting serious.
I just wanted to show off my collection here.
yeah, the Marquis,
Green Onion.
the Marquis had this one hit.
Stax.
The Marquis had this one hit, and they kind of broke up. But at the time, Steve Cropper was already. Oh, he's a guitar player, by the way. We didn't even mention that.
Right.
He's a guitar.
Yeah.
So he plays guitar.
Right, he's one of those.
But he, like the Marquis, they were already. There's another huge recording studio in Memphis called Sun, and he, like, you know, as a teenager, he's like. The Marquis were like doing session work with different bands, and he's picking up all this experience. And so at the age of like 20 or something like that, in '61, they get that hit with the Marquis, and then Stax asks him to join their company as like an A&R engineer dude. And then pretty much right after that, he formed Booker T and the MGs to be the house band at Stax Records.
Yeah.
Right.
And so those dudes played on so many awesome tunes. Like, it's crazy.
That's it. And he grew up with, I think he grew up with his childhood friends with Duck Dunn, who was
Right.
also had a big.
The bass player.
I mean, he's a huge, him and his P-Bass,
Yeah,
a
Donald
huge
Duck,
influence.
Donald Duck.
He's a huge influence on all these records. I think he's on most of these stats. Listen to one other guy, I can't think of his name, but yeah, he. So it's pretty. I mean, that's pretty awesome, right? You know?
Right, so these dudes in the Booker T and the MGs like are on all these recordings, you know, with all these different bands and stuff. And Steve, you know, got the opportunity to, you know, write a lot of songs and also co-write like a lot of these songs. Like I think
Midnight Hour.
like in the Midnight Hour is co-written.
Yep, and he wrote, co-wrote Dock of the Bay. Huge.
Everyone knows
that's
Sitting on the Dock of the Bay.
Yeah, huge hit.
But yeah, some of like the other artists that like eventually started flocking to Stax Records. You know, so we have Wilson Pickett and Otis Redding. We have Carla and Rufus Thomas. Oh, Sam and Dave.
Sam and Dave, yeah.
Like
Soul Man.
Soul Man.
I mean, he
Yeah,
gets a
everyone
shout
knows
out.
that song.
Play
Yeah.
it, Steve.
Yeah, so he's
He's the
he's
Steve.
not he
He's
didn't
the
actually
Steve.
co-write
Which
that
is
song,
short
but
for Steven.
Yeah.
That's what I heard.
Man, you
Yeah.
have that
I did
taken
my
down.
research.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but yeah, he gets like his name called out in that song, which is pretty cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I heard that sort of thing.
And like that one, he didn't actually co-write that one. That one, like, so the other big
Yeah, he didn't write
songwriters,
that song.
the other big songwriters that had it at Stax was Isaac Hayes and this dude David Porter, and that one's actually between those dudes. And like an interesting thing I heard is that like Booker T himself, who was the organ player for Booker T and the MGs,
Right.
he like went away to school for a period, and I think to learn like music. He went to music school, and during that time, Isaac Hayes, like besides writing songs, he would also sit in on a lot of these recordings, like on organ or
Yeah.
keys and stuff like that, which is kind of interesting because that's a pretty, you know, a lot of people know of Isaac Hayes.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, like when I first started playing in a band, like when I was in high school, we started at my buddy Harold's house. Shout out to Harold, if he's watching. But we played Green Onions and we recorded it onto like a tape player. And then he took the tape and put it onto a CD. It was the first time we ever made a CD. And we played this song, like, and we played it for like 25 minutes.
Oh,
Or
the extended
25
version.
minute version of Green Onions. And we
extended
just
I feel like
jammed on it forever and
Yeah.
hours and
Like
we
a
used to
lot
play
of-
it in the basement forever. I mean, it's like one of the first songs I ever like
that's an awesome
started playing to other musicians with. You know, it's just like, and then obviously the Sandlot.
Right, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah,
like,
the Sandlot.
People's first exposure
Yeah.
to Green Onions is Sandlot, and like you hear this song, and it's like immediately, if you don't know anything about blues or music, it immediately sounds cool.
Well, yeah, and some of these songs, like, you know, like Green Onions, you've heard a million times, and you're sick of it, but it's just like, then you go back and you like think, well, I do, I think I'm like, somebody wrote this fucking song, and it's this amazing song that everybody knows, it's in everybody's head. It's just amazing that it came, you know what I mean, like,
And they named it after like a really great vegetable. You know,
yeah, it's a good
I
topping.
mean, who doesn't like a green onion?
It's a good
Slice it up,
topping onion.
maybe on
Right.
top of a little sour cream. or
Yeah, you're
something.
gonna want to throw that on
Yeah.
top of maybe some tacos.
Yeah, sprinkle it right on there. Well, the cool thing when I started listening to this stuff, I was like, I've really been going for like this kind of drum sound, like really like kind of like tighter drum sound than I used to do. And so I was looking up, I'm like, who's this drummer? And this dude is named Al Jackson Jr. No relation to Alan Jackson. I knew that was the next question. Not related to him. But like, so he played on all these. I have to look at my notes because I literally just was looking this up and like. But he played. This dude is such a great drummer. They called him Steve Cropper. I'm sorry, Steve Cropper said they called him the human timekeeper. And he's like one of the best musicians ever. But he had like drummers ever. And he plays on all these songs. He plays with Wilson Pickett, like Leon Russell. Who else is on here? Jerry Lee Lewis, Eric Clapton, just to name some of these people, like Rod Stewart. But he kind of had like one of those weird endings, like where he was actually murdered. He was actually shot by his wife. They had an argument. She shot him in the chest. He survived. Didn't press charges because I think it was like a 22. Not yet. But then, like, a couple months later, he mysteriously gets shot like 5 times in his house, and they're interviewing people, and they were just all like, he's the greatest, like one of the greatest timekeepers. And he 1975. So he's on all these records, and the murderer got away. They don't know what happened. It's just like a weird ending, one of these tragic endings to like a dude who you don't even know, but he played on like every song you know.
Stax Records recordings with Steve Cropper.
Let's see if he's on this one. Nope, they say they never heard of him.
Never heard of him. Oh yeah. These are all wrong. Everything.
They never list drummers on these things.
No, but like this guy's a great drummer. I mean, with just learning these parts, I was like, how is he making such like the simplest drum parts so cool? And it's all just about the feel, and they're so good. It's actually not simple once you're like trying to play it because it's like so good. So
going back to like that first song that we just did. So that one was originally done by Eddie Floyd, a guy, you know.
Got that one. This is not an easy album to come by, by the way.
So like probably like some of Steve Cropper's like biggest ones was like Knock on Wood, In the Midnight Hour, and then probably Sitting at the Dock of the Bay. Those are probably like some of his of the biggest ones.
Right. Yep. And In the Midnight Hour, I think he does 99 and a half on this one.
Oh yeah, 99 and a half.
Yeah.
That's one that we're going to play in a little bit. 99 and a half. That one's really
Which is a really cool song. And it was on, CCR did it on their first album, which I happen to have here.
Whoa,
but,
that's the thing, all of these songs, like tons of people did
It's interesting because this album, because we were talking about earlier, Jameson, like, they're like, you know, CCR is a Chugulin band, but they're not quite, they don't hit their full Chugulin stride until, this song is one of the ones that actually does Chugulin groove on this.
If you look up like 99 and a half, like CCR does a version of it, a lot of people do a version of it. Wilson Pickett's version is awesome. But it's kind of, it's one of those songs where it's, there aren't that many changes, and it's more about just like grooving, kind of like, you know, what you know, CCR, like Keep on Chugulin and Born on the Bayou and that kind of thing, where it's like these long, like 5-minute songs where they're just kind of grooving on the same thing for a long time. This 99 and a half is kind of like that. So it's like the perfect song for CCR to cover.
Yeah.
And then, but this was before they really kept on Chugulin.
And it's even that first like opening riff is like totally CCR.
Yeah.
And like they make it their own, but it's even the original version. It sounds like are they doing a CCR or CCR doing that? But like you don't know. But I mean, and even the bass line like in that one is like a lot like if you listen, it's a lot like the same ups and downs and like as Commotion, like it's like Commotion's a more upbeat song, but it's like it's interesting, like you know, I think they obviously connected with that song to put it on the album, but like I think they also like expanded on that sound.
Like it really, they were like, damn man,
this is good. This sounds good. It's not a Susie Q, but it's pretty good.
Right.
And my favorite version of Susie Q is the Applebee's version, Barbecue.
Okay.
Oh, barbecue.
Go on.
Well, I don't know if you remember, but in the late 90s and early 2000s, Applebee's would acquire classic songs and change the lyrics about
after the Baby Back Ribs stuff?
I think that was right around then, but I don't really remember. Yeah.
Well, classic
it was in the 90s.
Classic Applebee's commercial.
Yeah, but, I mean, but you get 2 meals for $20.
We'll do another episode on
Applebee's sponsoring this. Eating good in the neighborhood.
Yeah, so Steve Cropper's still alive and well to this day, isn't he?
Yeah. And like another thing, like some people might have like seen him in film and not even
that's
realize
right.
it because Steve Cropper and the bass player Donald Duck
Donald
Dunn
Duck.
from Booker T and the MGs that played on all these recordings, they were in
They're the Blues Brothers
Blues
band.
Brothers.
They're the band.
Blues Brothers band. So Steve Cropper in like the Blues Brothers, if you remember like the original Blues Brothers movie, he was the dude with long hair and the beard.
Yeah.
I don't really remember what Steve Cropper looked like. I mean, what Donald Duck Dunn looked like.
He was
I
just the
think
guy
he had
with
like a
the
sailor hat on and just like a little, just a shirt.
Was he the guy with the pipe? I don't know, maybe. But yeah, original Blues Brothers dude. So that's
Yeah. Soul Man again. Played Steve again.
yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we can cue up the Sam and Dave like.
Well, I would never recommend playing a record you care about on one of these record
Right.
players, but I don't know. Yeah, Soul Man's the
We
first
can
one.
hear,
That's not gonna be hard to cue up.
We
No.
can hear like the play it, Steve.
Yeah, let's get to the
And,
plate,
like-
Steve. You know?
A lot of people say Steve Cropper is like the master of doing like song intros and stuff. Like for example, on that Eddie Floyd one, like the bow, down, down, like that's very like memorable. Same with like in the Midnight Hour. It's like a very similar beginning,
Oh, yeah.
but kind of in reverse. And then this one's like another really classic beginning, the Soul Man, with like Steve Cropper's guitar part, like do 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 do.
Yeah, he's got it's that country soul blues
Yeah.
guitar.
Any second.
It's coming.
It's coming around.
Oh,
Listen to that.
I don't know if you guys can hear that at home,
That's like
but.
that's a sound all its own, you know?
Oh yeah, and so the horns, that's another huge thing. On a lot of these Stax records, they had this horn section with them called the Memphis horns, which are to this day considered one of the best soul horn sections ever. And they're on like all of like the, you know, on a lot of these songs, like the horn parts is like a hook in itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's some guitar right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But damn. I don't know. Is that enough?
Oh, like another classic song of his that was recorded by a bunch of people. I didn't mention this before when I was listening off like the Stax artists, but Albert King, you know,
right.
the famous bluesman. You know, he wrote some of his own songs, and you know, some of his songs were written for him. But Steve Cropper has a co-writing credit for "The Hunter," which was a huge
Oh,
song
right,
covered
yeah,
by like
yeah.
tons of people. Like, you know, that was kind of more picked up by like a little bit later, like
That's
rock
like
and
rock-
roll dudes.
yeah.
Like Free does a really cool version. Lucier does a really cool version. This little band called Led Zeppelin,
Ever
kind
heard
of,
of
they
them?
get into it like during,
just like
during
their
like how many
live
more times they get into like the they call me the hunter. You know?
Yeah.
That's Steve Cropper co-wrote that. So
Yeah. I mean that like mutated into something I bet he didn't even
Yeah.
intend. But I mean I like all the
right, yeah. There's something like that song is like such a driving like
Yeah.
like later like Lucier was like hell yeah.
Yeah, we'll play that.
that.
We'll play that, Steve. They said.
Yeah.
And I also heard that the term crop dusting actually came from him. He used to eat a lot of burritos before studio sessions, and
Well, it was his.
Yeah.
It was his great grandfather that. invented
Oh,
it.
okay. That's all right. Though. I mean, you can't hold it in. You gotta let it go. Yeah, very
All right.
talented.
Here's a chance to redeem yourself, Beans. What does the MG and Booker T and the MG stand for?
I have no idea.
How? It's Memphis Group. I thought you
Memphis
knew. That's
Group?
what.
No, I didn't know
you were saying
that.
Memphis over.
No,
and over
I didn't know
again.
there was gonna be a fucking
Memphis is in
test.
Tennessee. I thought that's what your joke was.
I did not
What?
know that. I did not know that.
Wait. Oh, that Memphis. The one in Tennessee. Okay.
Alright.
Well, now I get it.
I don't know if you're ever serious or not, Beans. I have no idea.
No, it does.
We actually we played a show in Memphis one time, a long time ago. There's a really cool
Oh, it's
band
fucking hot as hell.
that we're buddies with called the Dirty Streets that are from Memphis. They're really good. Look them up if anybody's listening. But So it was kind of like a last minute gig, but there was some awesome bands. The one time we were in Memphis with the Dirty Streets. One in particular that like I've been a fan of since is called Slow Season. Those guys are awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, we did. It was kind of like we rolled into town and then we couldn't really stick around. Like there's like so many cool things we wanted to see. Like it'd be cool to like see Stax.
We had a show in like Pennsylvania the next week, and we drove 14 hours.
Yeah, as soon as the show was done.
Slept in a rest
Part
stop for a
of
few minutes.
the problem was we ran into that traffic right
Traffic
after.
jam in the middle at like 1 o'clock.
There was a turned over semi and we were stuck. Just weren't moving for 3 hours.
At like 3 o'clock in the morning, traffic came to a halt on the highway.
So we woke up at this rest stop and I was like, did a quick map check.
Yeah.
And I was like, if we
shit.
don't leave right now
Yeah.
and drive for 12 hours straight, we're not going to make it to the show.
Yeah, we probably drove to like
Where was that? That
4
was
o'clock in
The
the morning.
Brown Hotel.
the Brown Hotel. What town was that?
It's where
Jimmy Stewart was born. Oh my
Stewart.
God, Jimmy Stewart was born in this town, and like remember the red lights, you know? So like when the little guy is up there and it tells you you can walk now, it's like bing, or it sounds like a bird, it's like tweet tweet. But in that town, it's like a voiceover guy did Jimmy Stewart. He's like, it's safe to walk around the bed now.
You can go now. It's safe.
And but what was that town? Oh God.
Hold on. We go to so many towns. What was that town?
Somebody
Anyway.
check group. Look
Call
it up.
Jimmy Stewart up.
Just a small college town.
Yeah.
it's cool.
Close to the border.
Yeah.
Of New York.
And right next to some nuclear reactors, I believe.
Yeah. There's a lot of those.
But yeah, so we didn't have time to like really explore Memphis, but I'd love to. Hopefully
Yeah.
next time we get back down there.
But we have explored where Jimmy Stewart's from, and that is
That's
cool
true.
too.
Well,
Very cool.
Gentlemen, I
There,
think-
there's one more thing I wanted to add. Like going back to Steve Cropper. Unless were you gonna say we're gonna start playing?
Nope.
Okay.
I was gonna let you talk. 'Cause
The one thing, like, I saw this like Ronnie Wood show where he had Steve Cropper on as a guest, and like he said, you know, sometimes people ask him, "What is your songwriting trick or secret?" And he was like, "Oh, I just follow the dots on the guitar. Like, there's a couple dots on the guitar, like at the 3rd fret, at the 5th fret." And that may sound like at first I was like, "Oh, that's just some humble bullshit." Like, I don't believe that. But like when you listen to some of his songs, like the intro to the song we just played, "Knock on Wood," and like it's just like the hook throughout the song. And same with in the like the original version of "Midnight Hour," like they're kind of like the same thing in reverse, but they're these like horn hooks that kind of follow those the dots, because like the first dot's on the 3rd fret, and like if you strum that, that's like a G. The next one's the A, and then B and D. And so like on those things like down, 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 he really is following those freaking dots. So he really gave
how
his,
could it be so
he gave
easy?
his secret away. You know,
How can it be so
you
goddamn
just gotta follow the dots. Do you think? Yeah.
I think, so we're gonna play a couple more Steve Cropper written tunes for you. One is we talked about 99 and a half, and we're gonna finish out with the song that we just released our own version. It's not like anyone that you've ever heard before, but we're gonna do Midnight Hour.
Yeah. So we're gonna jump back and grab our guitars and whatnot. One thing, like, you know,
I don't play guitar.
I don't know if you guys find this interesting. You know, we're having a fun time doing it. You know, talking about music that we love.
We're gonna try to keep it short and sweet.
Yeah, and
We just talk about music all the
get back
time.
up there and play. Like, if you guys like this, we'll do something like this again. Also, we're planning on doing like another like all, you know, just like more of like a live show thing like we did a couple weeks ago. You know, so if you're into that, we're doing that, and then we're hopefully gonna do a couple more of these.
Yeah, maybe if there's some of your, maybe you know some unsung writers that you would want us to do.
Yeah, if you have like any, yeah.
But we probably heard of them. 'Cause we're cooler. But you might. I'm joking.
And that's the thing, like, we're not experts on all this stuff. We're just kind of like, you know, talking about, you know, shit that we think is interesting. So if we get something wrong or don't mention the dude that we should have, you know.
Or if we
don't
make
get
up a
too
murder
pissed.
Let us
story.
know, or keep it to
Or
yourself.
let us know, or keep it to
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah,
whatever.
you know.
But if you don't have anything
We're
nice
not trying to
say,
prove anything. We just, yeah. All right, well, I'm gonna start setting up over there.
Okay.
We'll keep this tune going for you guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll meet you over on the
tune up.
stage.
We'll meet you back at the stage. Thanks for listening. But we're okay.
Do me one small favor. Please let me. Don't take this habit from one. If you must cling to someone now and forever, let it be me. Now listen, each time you need love, I find complete love. Yes, I do. And oh, without your sweet love, what would I be? Don't ever leave me lonely. Tell me you love me only. Now and forever. Oh yeah, let it be me. If you don't mind, I would like to say this. Oh, each time we meet love, oh, I don't find nothing but sweet love, baby.
Yay! Okay, we're back over here. So yeah, this one we're gonna do is the one we were talking about, 99 and a half. First done by Wilson Pickett, and obviously, you know, I'm no Wilson Pickett, and like we just learned this song the other day, so you know, bear with us.
Wilson, pick
Yay! Such a CCR thing.
best attempt at 99 and a half for you.
Yeah, so like we were saying, we put this single out a few months ago, and
It's everywhere you can get singles.
Yeah, you can
It's
go out
on
and get
iTunes.
it.
It's on Spotify. It's on the other ones, but it's up there. It's
Somehow it
everywhere.
already has like more plays than a lot of the songs from our most recent record.
because it sounds pretty good, that's why.
It's the Cropster. Man.
And it's the horn guy. You know? We had the whole horn section on there.
Oh yeah, that's right. Tom. I hope he's okay. I hope you're okay, Tom. Tom and Kim and Luke. All of them. I hope you guys are okay. Tom and Kim and Luke. 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 Oh yeah, this is our version. I remember. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Till the midnight
Okay. I don't know if anyone's watching or what. Let us know what you guys thought. If there's anybody out there, comment. Like if you have any suggestions. If the vocals were too quiet, like the talking part. Did you like the talking part? Was it interesting? Was it fun? Was it boring? Was the music good? And
Yeah.
and let us know. And that's the show. Tune in
Yeah.
next time for
Okay.
us.
Just stay safe out there, everybody.